Salut à tous et bienvenue sur Naughty Dog Mag pour une vidéo exceptionnelle, une très belle vidéo que je suis très heureux, très fier, très ému de vous proposer avec cette interview de Gustavo Santaolalla, le compositeur des musiques de The Last of Us, aussi bien de The Last of Us Part 1, de Left Behind, de The Last of Us Part 2, mais également de la série HBO. Alors ce sont les équipes directement de Gustavo qui nous ont contactés, ce qui rajoute un petit peu de fierté puisqu'ils ont vu nos articles, nos vidéos, ils ont vu notre travail sur Naughty Dog Mag, sur nos réseaux sociaux et ils ont apprécié, c'est pourquoi ils nous ont contactés à la fin du printemps. Malheureusement c'est tombé en plein mois de mai avec la communication autour de GTA 6 qui fait que je n'avais pas vu les mails. On a dû ensuite vouloir prévoir. À la base, c'était une interview en physique à Paris au début du mois de juin et je suis dégoûté d'avoir loupé cela. Puis ça devait être reporté au mois d'août et puis finalement au mois de septembre parce que j'ai toujours eu des soucis. Après, il y a eu la Gamescom. Donc je remercie énormément ces équipes, ces managers aussi bien européens que argentins, américains parce que j'ai discuté avec beaucoup d'entre eux qui se sont vraiment démêlés pour que cette interview puisse se réaliser. Je remercie bien entendu Gustavo pour sa gentillesse. J'ai pu m'entretenir 1 heure avec lui et voir à quel point c'était une personne humaine, extrêmement attentionnée, passionnée, généreuse, et j'ai vraiment passé un excellent moment. Je suis fier et heureux de cette opportunité. Nous avons écrit plusieurs questions avec une partie de l'équipe de Naughty Dog Mag et c'est une grande fierté pour nous de pouvoir vous proposer cela. L'interview devait arriver un petit peu plus tôt puisqu'à la base elle devait être en espagnol avec une interprète en français, donc ce qui aurait été très intéressant pour nous parce qu'on aurait pu sortir l'interview directement, et puis comme Naughty Dog Mag est une communauté française, ce serait plus agréable pour vous que de devoir lire 45 minutes. On sait que niveau accessibilité, certaines personnes c'est compliqué de pouvoir lire, mais en tout cas voilà. On a fait au mieux. Moi, ce que j'ai fait, c'est que j'ai également redoublé mes parties, mes questions, puisque c'est ma propre voix, etc. Donc comme ça nous a fait gagner du temps sur la traduction et ça nous permet de vous proposer cette interview un peu plus rapidement. Bien entendu, nous n'avons pas redoublé Gustavo, nous avons sous-titré l'intégralité de ses réponses. Dans la description de la vidéo, vous retrouverez un lien vers la retranscription écrite de l'interview qui clairement est passionnante, qui revient sur l'ensemble de sa carrière, sur son travail autour de The Last of Us, sur ses prochains travaux peut-être autour de The Last of Us, mais également sur sa tournée Ronroco Tour qui attaquera le 19 octobre à Paris. C'est la première date. J'y serai normalement avec des membres de l'équipe Naughty Dog Mag. Je vous rappelle qu'il reste les dernières places si vous voulez venir. C'est dans la description de la vidéo, vous avez un lien pour prendre les places. Gustavo reviendra sur l'ensemble de sa majestueuse carrière et interprétera bien entendu quelques morceaux de The Last of Us. Donc voilà, sur cela, je me tais, je ne vais pas vous spoiler et je vous laisse avec cet entretien incroyable que nous avons l'occasion, la chance de réaliser et que l'on vous propose en clôture du The Last of Us Day. Donc merci beaucoup Gustavo, c'est un plaisir de vous rencontrer, un véritable plaisir de vous rencontrer en tant que grand fan de The Last of Us. C'est un incroyable moment pour moi parce que la musique de The Last of Us est une partie de ma vie, je l'écoute toutes les semaines et peut-être même tous les jours, alors vraiment merci.
Well, thank you, because really, truly, I mean, I've been blessed with the opportunity to work in some wonderful projects through my life, and also I've been blessed with great recognition for my work. Although I've never did anything particularly for money or to get an award. Of course I enjoy having money to send my kids to a better school or to do many things, and I enjoy obviously when I get an award because of the connection of what I'm doing with the people and with my colleagues and stuff. But I've never really done anything for it, and I've been blessed with with the fact of working in great projects. But after all these recognitions, the Grammys and the BAFTAs and the Oscars, I felt that I really get to a point that was complete in a way. You know what I mean? And then came The Last of Us. and gave me access to a totally new audience. Because one of the things that I loved about my connection with The Last of Us was the fact that it was a totally new audience. It was an audience that didn't know anything about me as an artist, or Bajo Fondo, the band, that I've been, or my productions, more than 100 albums of alternative music that I produce, or even my scores in the movies. This was an audience, like probably you were, that didn't know anything about me, and suddenly, I established this incredibly strong connection, because one of the things that I love about The Last of Us 2 is that the connection with the audience, is been so strong. It's so
Mhm.
emotional, and one of the things that happened too was that I'm not a gamer, I'm terrible, but I have a son that was very good, very good. And when I started working in the game, which was 10 years ago, he was in his mid-teen years, and he was very good. And I used to enjoy watching him play. I used to love
Mhm.
watching him play, and watching other people play games too. I love to. Like in the band, I used to watch the guys playing FIFA World Cup, and I just watch it like if I was watching a football match, right? But I used to watch my son, and I always thought, if someday somebody connects in an emotional level with a gamer, it's going to be a revolution, And
Mhm.
I knew, because aside of the combat, the survival, all this stuff that is gymnastic, and that it can be a lot of fun, but and after the Oscars, I was approached by several companies, some of them very big, with big projects, but it was
Mhm.
more of the same. It was more of the same, and I knew what I wanted. I really knew what I wanted, and I've always been very picky in the stuff that I get involved with. So I wait, and then Neil appeared. And when Neil
Yes.
told me, he said, I mean, exactly that. He said, I want to do a game that connects in an emotional level. I said, he
Yes.
said, exactly. Then he told me the story, and I said, I'm in. And then it was confirmed when we learned that people were crying playing the game, so people got very emotional playing the game. And for me, it has really been, like a gift at this point in my life to have something like the opportunity to work in something like this. And then, after the two games, then came, the series too, and that was embraced also, not only by a new audience, but also even the audience that loved the game in the first place also, embraced the series. So that was fantastic. So for me, it's really truly a very, very, very special project in my life.
Ok. Ok, c'est merveilleux, c'est assez incroyable et merci parce que votre musique est une partie du jeu, c'est très important pour l'expérience, donc merci. Avant de parler de The Last of Us, je vais commencer par le commencement. Qu'est-ce qui vous a donné envie de vous lancer dans la musique et quel est votre premier souvenir lié à la musique?
Yes. Well, my parents didn't were not musicians. My dad worked in advertising, and my mom was just a household mother. But they were avid consumers of music. My parents bought lots of records. So I grew up from a very, very early age. Listening to a lot of records and records. That every week my dad will get a new record. Uh, and so I grew up listening to all sorts of music, which was fantastic. So it wasn't that segmented. Wasn't like in my house. I mean, it's not that we heard, jazz or classical music, or we heard everything. Of course, music from Argentina, like tango and folkloric music, but we listened to, North music from North America, jazz and also, I mean, at the time were like foxtrots or things like that, Les Paul and Mary Ford, or things like that, Frank Sinatra, and that stuff. Bands, big bands too. Also, classical music. So lots of very, and I started playing the guitar, started learning to play the guitar when I was 5 years old. My mom had a big frustration in her life because she wanted to play guitar all her life and she never was able to do it. They didn't have the resources to do it, and or, I don't know, or the parents didn't realize that it was something that she really wanted to do, but she had that frustration, and somehow, I mean, many things sort of indicated. I have a picture of me conducting as a 5-year-old, a little bit before that, in the the children's school, preschool, right? Conducting like a rhythmic band of little kids, And my mom used to tell the story that when I was doing this, doing this number with the kids, the conducting and stuff, a woman came to her and said, lady, you should cultivate the music. This guy has the music in his heart. This guy, you should send him to learn music because he really has the music, And I mean, sure enough, when I started playing at 5 the guitar, I immediately felt a deep connection with music, a spiritual connection with the music, right? And then so I had sort of formal tuition between 5 to 10. I never managed the academic side of music, so I was very fast to learn how to play and learn by memory the things, but I've never managed to learn how to read music, or write. Still today, I don't know how to read or write music. So at 10, actually, the teacher quit. The teacher got, because we used to have this discussions and fights, and she will, I will be pretending that I was reading a chart, and I wasn't. I was just playing by memory, and then she will cover and say, okay, start from here, and I couldn't start. I had to go from the top again, And so, I mean, we had all this through years, and then one day she said, you know what, I mean, his ear, that phrase was like, in bronze, she said, his ear is stronger than my music. So I quit. She didn't want to, And from then, that's when I started writing my first little things, First, I had like a folkloric group when I was 10. And at 12, my parents got me an electric guitar. And then at 13, the Beatles came out, and that was it. I knew at that moment what I wanted to do. Although I was a very good student at school, and my parents always were very supportive with the music, although they thought that it was a great hobby for me, but not that I was going to devote my life to it. But so at the beginning, when I finished high school, and like I said, I was always very, very, very good student. It was a little tough, with my parents and stuff. But then they saw that this is what I wanted to do, and also they got to see my success, that actually I made something out of that, so that worked out great. But that's it, resuming a little bit my beginnings in music,
Et cela nous offre une magnifique carrière, une longue et magnifique carrière. Dans votre Ronroco Tour, nous avons le plaisir de découvrir la musique de The Last of Us, mais aussi l'intégralité de votre carrière.
Yeah, many other things, because one of the things is that in my career, I mean, one of the things that always, when I started with my band, I signed with RCA when I was 17 years old, and I started professionally in my career as an artist and as a producer, because they were not producers of alternative music. I don't think the word alternative music exists, but that's what I was doing, So I always been very interested in the concept of identity, and of somehow represent who I am, where do I come from. And that's why with my band, which was a rock band at the time, Arcoiris, I start a fusion of rock and that language with Argentinian folk music and Latin American folk music, instruments, timbre, rhythms. I was very criticized by the rock intelligentsia, because they thought, oh, that's not rock. I mean, how can you put... Well, in that search, I started playing one instrument called charango. That is an instrument from the Andes Mountains, connected to that type of music, which actually was very popular in France during the 60s, very, very, very popular. And there was a big group there based with an Argentinian conductor called Jorge Milchberg. The group was called Urubamba, that ended up recording with Paul Simon, and it had those sounds, charango, cane, and stuff. So I used charango in different things, but many years after, already when I was, I would say, in my 30s, I came to in one of my. I was living already in the United States, and every time I went to Argentina, I would go to a music store and see if they had something, anything new, instrument from there, right? And I saw a charango, but a bigger charango, right? And I remember I grabbed it and I started playing, and something immediately connected with me. I had like an epiphany, with that instrument, something, and it was a ronroco. And the ronroco, although it is related to the charango, is a very different instrument because, it has sustain, has a totally different register, so it doesn't behave like a charango, right? So
Mhm.
I started writing music with an instrument that not necessarily was music from the Andes mountains. You know what I mean? It was my music, and sometimes the things that I write with ronroco can evoke music from the Andes mountains, but very rarely. But sometimes evokes music from Eastern Europe or music from Africa or music from Asia. So eh, it was after years of recording stuff that by those things in life that I was called to produce an album, a compilation of a great charango player, one of the biggest in the world, Jaime Torres, that I used to watch on TV when I was a kid, playing Misa Criolla. And I put together a compilation and I met the man. I always say when I try to explain who was Jaime Torres, I said, well, he was kind of like a Ravi Shankar of the charango, like a kind of a master of an instrument like that. And I wanted to show him what I did, but at the same time I was very concerned because I play with a different technique, totally different
Mhm.
technique. They have long nails and they play with quick. I do finger picking, and I also, the music that I did is not necessarily music. So after a few weeks that I was with him and stuff, then after years we became like brothers. But at the time it was like master. So after a couple of weeks, I said to him, Jaime, this is something that some friends of mine do. So I give it to him, and like 3 days later, he calls and said, listen, you are playing here. You don't fool me. I mean, I know you are playing here, and you should show this to the world. I said, well, I really didn't know if you were gonna like it because I play with a different technique, and there's no rules, and you find the spirit of the instrument. You should make an album. So sure enough, I recorded some other stuff, and I compiled 13 years of my life that I've been recording stuff for me. It was a very personal thing for me, right? And I put an album out that is called Ronroco, and uh, and I couldn't really get out and promote the album or anything because I was doing my label project at the time. I had a joint venture with Universal, Surco, that was the label of alternative young music, in Latin America, and the record was totally a record for another thing. Couldn't promote the record, but they started playing the record just in college stations because they liked the record, right? And suddenly one day I got a phone call at the office that say, Michael Mann wants to meet with you because he wants to use one of the tracks in this movie, The Insider, movie with Al Pacino and Russell Crowe. And when I knew about the movie, and it was a contemporary movie, I said, well, I met with Michael, and he showed me the scene, and he said, what here is called a feature cue. It's like 2 minutes of music where the music takes over the screen. There's no dialogue, and it was a turning point in the movie. And I thought, man, I mean, this works amazing. And I always loved cinema, by the way. That was one thing that I wanted to study, but I couldn't. So at the same time, parallel to this, a common friend of Alejandro González Iñárritu and me start saying to Alejandro, Gustavo should do the music of your film. And for me, it was saying, there's this new director in Mexico, he's doing this new film, and you should make them. And that was Amores Perros. And that's how I ended up doing Amores Perros. And that took me to Walter Salles and did Motorcycle Diaries. And in all these things, all this, somehow the Ronroco was made at the end of Amores Perros is Ronroco, in Motorcycle Diaries is Ronroco. Up to now, even with The Last of Us, with the main theme of The Last of Us, I wrote with Ronroco. So I've never actually toured with that the mood that record has. I have played Ronroco pieces in my concerts, but my concerts have always been marked by music from my albums, music from the movies, some things with Ronroco. But I decided that because the album was turning more than 20 years now, that it was a time to do a lot of things around this, So we actually re-released the album in vinyl in 100 more than 180 grams for audiophile quality. I did a digital version of the instrument with Spitfire, which is this great company that does banks of instruments, so you can have it now in a keyboard, the Ronroco. I invented an instrument that is a combination of a Ronroco and electric guitar, and we did a prototype with Fender. I did a perfume that is coming out in December around the instrument. I mean, we took the sense of the wood of the instruments, and that was the point of departure for the perfume. And I decided to finally put together a tour, playing, the things of the album Ronroco, and obviously things from other music, things from Motorcycle Diaries, things from Babel, but also music from The Last of Us. So I did that tour last year. I played like 10 cities in Europe, and it was so good. It was for me also a challenge because I didn't know what was going to happen, right? Mm-hmm. But it really creates a very, very special moment. And in the world that we're living, in the moment that we're living in the world today, I think that this particular concert has a particular place. I hope you can make it and see it, because so you can prove what I'm trying to say. But it's very special, very emotional, and very peaceful, and it's very different of everything that I've done. And I'm really looking forward to do. I played at the Bataclan like 3 years ago with
yes. Oui, j'étais là.
You were there?
Oui, j'ai une photo parce que à la fin du spectacle, nous nous sommes rencontrés.
I was gonna tell that I remember your face from somewhere,
Vraiment? Et oui, je vous ai vu à la fin du spectacle et le concert était vraiment fantastique et j'ai tellement hâte de voir votre prochain concert.
I can't wait to see your next show.
So good, man! So good that you will see these two things, because my career is so eclectic. I've done so many things, and I still do so many things. I'm writing a ballet now, and I mean, so many things, and so it's great. I mean, that you had the opportunity to see that variety that other concert has, and that now you're going to get more deep into one side of me, which is very, and it's a wonderful ensemble too, that I have with me too. Great musicians too. And it's just more acoustic thing, this,
Yes.
But I'm so looking forward. I had a wonderful, incredible, memorable time at the Bataclan, that concert. I mean, I will never forget it. It was incredible.
J'ai juste hâte de voir ce prochain concert le mois prochain. Nous avons pas beaucoup de temps, donc j'aimerais parler de votre travail sur The Last of Us. Comment avez-vous rencontré Neil Druckmann et l'équipe de Naughty Dog, et comment ce projet a-t-il commencé?
Well, the thing is that at the time, this Neil always told me this story because he wanted me to do the music. He was a big fan of my work in the movies, and he knew that, I guess, that I could tap into the emotion, in a way probably different that more perhaps conventional composers, can do, which can do some great stuff, but different of what I do, and it's more minimalistic and stuff. And when he proposed that in Naughty Dog and Sony PlayStation, they said, no, that was not going to do it. I mean, he has 2 Oscars. He's not going to be interested in doing a video game, And that's not me at all. I mean, I'm interested in anything that is interesting. I will be interested in, can be a short film, or it can be anything. If it's something that reverberates with me, if it's something that touches me, and this in particular, in a way, was something that I was expecting, because I told you the story. I mean, it was something that I said, if somebody comes up with an idea that we connect in an emotion, and so it was like sent to me, you know. But the funny thing is that they almost didn't make the call because they thought that I was going to say no, you know.
Ok.
So that's how it started. But
C'est marrant de savoir que Neil Druckmann était un grand fan de votre travail. Et justement, est-ce que vous avez une anecdote drôle ou assez insolite concernant la création de la musique de The Last of Us ou un moment spécial avec Neil Druckmann?
With Neil?
Yes, we
Yes. With Neil, we did something that you can find in my channel. We did a thing called Chit Chat, you know, which is like a series of shorts in which I talk with Neil about life, about his upbringing, you know, where he was, you know, born in Israel and everything, you know, when he moved, and really, really beautiful stuff about his life, his dog. I mean, many things. And one of the nice things about that was that it was the first time that at the end of this conversation, I invite him and I taught him to play the theme of The Last of Us. So he learned to play there. And now in the thing that I did with Fender, which I recommended that you see, that instrument that I created called Guitar Loco, I invited him and he plays with me there the theme. I played with this new instrument and he plays acoustic guitar. He does the comp. And it's a great moment. You put my name and Fender and it will come out. You can see it in YouTube.
Okay. Oh, perfect. It's amazing. Ok.
Ok, parfait, c'est incroyable. Ma chanson préférée de The Last of Us est All Gone, No Escape. C'est pour moi l'une des plus belles musiques de l'industrie du jeu vidéo. Quelle est votre musique préférée de The Last of Us et pourquoi?
The Last of Us and why?
Well, I'll never say that because for me, in a way, I mean, I take all songs as my kids, you know what I mean? So it will be like saying, you know, which is your favorite son or daughter, you know what I mean? They are all beautiful in their own way. But I have to say that obviously All Gone is a piece that reverberates with me very, very strong as the main theme, but as other themes too. I mean, you know, the stuff that I did with the lower, the 6-string sort of bass guitar. There's lots of those things that are amazing too, that really touch me. What I love about All Gone is the simplicity of the melody, because it's, you know, ta-dee-da, it's so simple. I mean, you know, you don't need more than those notes, and it can really. And actually, the first time the way I wrote that thing is in the most raw version that you hear, you know, when the beginning, you know, Joel's daughter gets killed, you know. I wrote it with an electric guitar, I mean, but played with a bow, with a violin bow, and actually bouncing the bow, so it gets that it's like, it's really fragile, you know. And because of that too, I couldn't play that many notes. I wanted to use mainly very few notes, and that's where it comes from. And now when you hear, there's a beautiful version that recorded by a symphony orchestra, a Nordic symphony orchestra, that is gorgeous. And when you think about it, I mean, when I created in that such a raw way, you know, and how it developed into something like that, you know, it's really something beautiful for me, you know.
Oui, je suis particulièrement d'accord. La partie avec les violons est la meilleure partie. À chaque fois, je frissonne. C'est incroyable. L'atmosphère de The Last of Us et The Last of Us Part 2 est radicalement différente et opposée. Quel soundtrack est-ce que vous préférez et laquelle a été la plus simple à produire?
I would say the easiest was the first one, because it was just, you know, not the second one. I had to just, you know, sort of, you know, add more things. I wanted to add more things. I did a few changes. I also, you know, it happens to me in many things through my career that I will do things because I work a lot by instinct, you know, by gut feelings, and so I do many things that then afterwards, you know, I sort of rationalize and I go, oh, I did this. Oh, I work now because I've been doing it for so many years. I can articulate lots of things. I mean, the way I work with mistakes, the way I work with silence, the use of noise, and textures. But I did that for many years, just totally natural. And one thing that I realized afterwards too was that I worked a lot in the first game. I mean, I always have the guitar sort of like the intermediate thing, but I had two extremes. One was the Ronroco, and the other one was the 6-string bass, Fender bass, which is an instrument that now they're doing it again. Fender is putting out again, but it's an instrument that they did it in the 60s. The Beatles use it quite a bit. Cream use it too. It's not, today you have lots of basses that have 5 strings, 7 strings, but it's a different thing. It's not a bass with more string. It's like a octave lower than a guitar. So it's a different instrument, right? And so I used that quite a bit in the first one. And what I realized in the second one, I changed that for a classical guitar, but with these strings that will turn it into an octave down guitar. And what I realized was that Ellie somehow was represented by the Ronroco, that the feminine side of the game, the delicate thing, the fragile aspects were represented by the sound of the Ronroco. And this bass, lower sound, that's the masculine thing, Joel thing, the Joel world, These things, for example, that I didn't know in the first game, in the second game were more clear for me.
Yes.
I introduced also the banjo, which was also, and one of the things that I loved about Neil is that he gave me total freedom, to work. So, when I thought about the banjo, because I'm not a banjo player, I don't pretend to be, but I think I can use instruments that perhaps are not my instrument in a different way, and I feel that as an artist, I should be able to create an artistic event with anything that you gave me, in a way, So if you give me an instrument that I can do anything with it, at least perhaps I break it and I record that, But I love to put myself in that situation, right? And so I brought the banjo, and I thought, well, perhaps they're gonna say, no, banjo, no, it's too obvious, but of course, I mean, like I said, because I don't play the banjo like normal. It's a timbre, it's a color, that added and expanded the language, for the second series. So in that sense, it was more elaborate, the work in the second than in the first one, which was more just immediate. The second one, we had already the success of the first one, and the second one also, you have that burden, but also all the challenges that the story of the second game brought, all those big challenges, right?
I prefer the music of the first game because the music is
Je préfère les musiques du premier parce que la musique est plus émotionnelle et j'adore un petit peu cette vibe émotionnelle. Mais la musique de The Last of Us Part 2 est très cool, avec celle du banjo que l'on retrouve à l'introduction du jeu et merveilleuse.
wonderful. It's a
different way. It's a different way to approach it, right?
yes.
Oui, totalement. Vous avez travaillé sur la soundtrack de la série HBO. Est-ce que le processus créatif est le même que pour un jeu vidéo?
Video game.
Well, it's different because the language is different, but in a way, I mean, first of all, we're always talking about storytelling. We're always talking about telling stories, that's what we're doing. And one of the things that we knew is that this music, the themes, the sonic fabric of this, it's part, like Neil has said, and Craig also, Craig Mason too, that, they said that my music is part of the DNA of The Last of Us, So it would have been, so I know that in some other occasions when they have transition a game or a book sometimes, or something, or not a book, a theater piece or something, or a movie to a TV thing or something like that. Sometimes, they have changed for example, themes. They have created new music or new themes and stuff, and it would have been, I think, impossible to do that. I mean, because the themes are like another character. It's like, instead of Ellie now, you have, it's not Ellie, it's another character. I mean, the story, the music is part of the story. That's why we kept the themes, and we think it was a very good idea. I think that helped also bridged the thing from the game to the series. So the challenge was to keep the themes, but at the same time, add new stuff, but at the same time also comply with the dynamics and the rhythm that TV series have, that is different than a game. So yes, there is a process of adaptation, but that's why also I have a team, because it's important. I work with, also with David Fleming. I work with another great composer that sort of complements me, in precisely in those things, and transition my themes and my world, into some of the things that are more TV,
Oui, je vois. Est-ce que vous avez déjà eu des discussions à propos de possibles créations de nouvelles musiques pour de potentiels nouveaux projets The Last of Us?
It's something that I couldn't. If I don't know. If I would have had, I can't say it, and if I didn't have, I will not. So I can't say. This, you know how this is. No. I can't talk about those.
C'était un piège, mais aimeriez-vous travailler à nouveau pour The Last
I
of
would
Us?
love to.
on the-
I would love to continue this relationship with this story, with this universe, with this world, because in a way too. And funny enough, I mean, the game came out, and the series and everything. I mean, around a time frame in the history of the world in which we went through a pandemic, right? I mean, we went through some, and we are going through some moments that are pretty dystopic and apocalyptic in their own way, right? I mean, we don't get bitten by people that have been contaminated with a fungus, but we get bitten by people that hate, and that also can turn us into haters too. I mean, there's other ways in which this story has parallel to our reality. And so for me, it's great to be a part of this universe, and I would love to continue, because I think it's very valid, very connected to the reality.
Finger crossed.
Eh bien, on croise les doigts. J'espère voir un autre jeu, d'autres projets et entendre d'autres musiques. C'est tout pour moi. Merci beaucoup pour votre temps et félicitations pour votre travail, pour votre musique. Encore une fois, pour moi, la musique de The Last of Us, ça a eu un fort impact dans l'industrie du jeu vidéo et la pop culture. Comme j'ai pu le dire, c'est vraiment une partie de ma vie, parce que The Last of Us est sorti il y a plus de 12 ans. Depuis plus de 10 ans, j'écoute la musique du jeu, et donc c'est une très belle opportunité de vous rencontrer et de pouvoir vous interviewer. Désolé pour mon anglais et ma prononciation.
English is great.
Eh bien, merci. Merci beaucoup pour ce moment, Gustavo. On se voit le mois prochain à Paris, et j'ai très hâte. Merci beaucoup encore.
Much.
Thank you for your kind words, and I'm really looking forward. It's the first show of the tour, so it has also
Yes.
that beautiful tension, of the opening, the birth of a new tour, So I'm really looking forward to playing that beautiful venue again, and to see everybody there in Paris, and to bring some music, some frequencies that hopefully will make us all elevate and feel a little bit more in peace with us and with the world.